Well, welcome again to another Workshop Wednesday, where it's casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it's all about learning QuickBooks your way.
Your way.
That's right. However you want. My camera is not centered here. There we go.
Mine's not either. I don't know how to fix it right now.
It's the worst. Oh, well, that's because I don't have it on the center of my laptop. That's why. Anyway. All right. So as our thumbnail kind of and our description indicated, we were going to be talking about some integration updates, but leave it to Intuit and the and the news of the day sort of thing, so to speak, of we're having to pivot and talk about something a little bit more urgent. I guess it could be the way. And because I've been seeing on Facebook and various social channels, people have been getting their logins compromised. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's not all their fault, and that's what we want to talk about today. Because bad actors, whether they be Vin Diesel or or a fraudster online, are so good about doing what they do, right? And I've had my login with my bank compromised. It's not a matter of if, but when. When
yeah, I mean, and I just recently had some issues with that as well. And even if it's not fraud, I mean, just even issues surrounding login security, it can just be confusing. And it's always good to kind of get the most updated information that Intuit is putting out there.
And Intuit, to their credit, they have a variety of ways to secure your account. Right. And, they've implemented passkeys, there's authentication apps, there's MFA versus the two-factor authentication.
Yeah. And then there's something I want to ask you about too, and maybe we can get into that in a little bit, because that's something that I'm considering, and I want to ask your opinion of such a thing.
Got it. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of what we're going to talk about, we do have a couple announcements. We are, where is this? So in November, we are going to have another cohort at School of Bookkeeping, and this one is going to be all about revenue share, right? And being able to work smarter and not necessarily harder to be financially connected to your clients, if that is something that interests you. And Rachel, I think you need to be part of this, because yesterday we're co-working on with a client, and you had the impression that if you had already referred a client to QuickBooks, any additional services like payroll or payments would automatically be tied back to you. And oh no.
Yeah, that is super confusing, because I thought at the very least QuickBooks payments was, and I feel like I read something that Intuit had mentioned that if you connect their the Gusto's calling me. That's weird. If you then sign up for QB payments, in addition to already signing them up under yourself for QBO, I thought that would automatically be a thing. So I would appreciate that information for sure, because we also have QSPs out there too, and there's a lot of confusion of what exactly can I get. And then, by the way, this is a very big deal, because I remember when I first started, I got maybe like a trickling of a few different commissions here and there. But over the course of 6 years, it has increased. And let me tell you, it is very cool and very worth it. And I would love to make sure that folks get the correct information like right out the gate, because this is it, like finally I feel like kind of the hard work is starting to pay off, and it's really, really worth it to get those revenue shares.
Yeah. And in your case, it looks like I'm a little choppy. Am I coming
Yeah.
through okay? Ugh.
Yeah, a little choppy.
All right. Yeah. Let me just I'm going to change my video settings to a little
Okay,
bit.
don't change your Wi-Fi in the middle of the thing.
No, we won't do that. We won't do that. So maybe this is a little better. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a little grainy, but that's okay. So yeah, where we're at today, Starlink is not is not as fast as it could be. I'm lower on the Elon Musk priority schedule. Anyway, so like in your case though, right? You had originally referred a customer to QuickBooks through your channels, and that was all great. And then your thought is that any additional services that would be added to that, since you already broke the seal, so to speak,
Yeah.
of referring the customer, that it would already be tied back to you. But in reality, that's not the case. There's channels that you have to go through. There's things that you have to things you have to report to Intuit in order to make sure that
and
those
it's
are
really
happening.
confusing. And they wanted to upgrade to, or not upgrade, but they wanted to add payroll elite, and that's the highest payroll. So I really wanted to make sure that I got the credit for that. So I have now worked that out. But yeah, it's not as easy as you'd think.
Yeah, it's I mean, the process is relatively simple. You just have to make sure that you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's in order to make sure that you're going to get
ever
those.
assume, because then you make what out of what.
Right. So that's coming in November. We are offering for the month of September. If you pre-register for the course, you get $300 off. So essentially, it's less than $100 to sign in or pre-register for the live cohort. And if you don't attend the live cohort, all the sessions are going to be recorded, so you can always go back and review them at a later time, because November is right before the fifth quarter of the year, which is December, which is getting ready for tax season. So I understand there's never a great time to have 4 weeks, a 4-week cohort, but we are going to record the session. So there's that. Now today we want to talk about your Intuit login, right? Because that is, and I've always said this when I talk to people on the phone, when I worked at Intuit, QuickBooks is as secure as your login, right? So that is the gateway to getting into QuickBooks, right? So QuickBooks Online we're talking about. So, the things about, the bank level security and all of the data being secure is really only as secure as your login, right? As long as you can log in, there's nothing to download, install, save, nothing of that, right? You can just sign in. If your login gets compromised by a bad actor that's out there, a fraudster, they essentially have the keys to the castle. And as an accountant, you're going to have access to a variety of
that's in what I would call that. And I have never had anybody have access to my Intuit login, but I would consider that a total nightmare. I take that so seriously. Access to my clients' books, there's just no way. I mean, even within there, it's not like we can make transactions, but and like, let's say for example, they got into one of my clients' QBO. It's not like they can see full checking account numbers or full credit cards or anything like that. But even just seeing their activity, I mean, I don't want anybody seeing anything. Like, at all.
Right. And you have not only do they have access to sensitive data like payroll, because as an accountant, you're going to have company admin access, right? Which means that
Yeah,
you do have access as an accountant user for all of your clients to see EINs, see
that's true.
custom.
Yeah, that information you can see.
Yep, and seeing employees' social security numbers and that sort of thing. But
True.
what's really concerning now is that QuickBooks is kind of doubling down on included services that um, have to deal with real money movement, right? So
Yeah, although I feel like even in, advanced, I mean, even in the most robust offerings they have, I feel like I cannot see a full social security number. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I can only see the last four digits, even
you right.
as an accountant user. Can I see the
You,
whole thing?
yeah, there's a lot of places they put a view, like a hyperlink, and then you have to click on that, and then you get the MFA
Okay.
code, and then you're able
Okay.
to see, right?
Right. So basically, if anybody would like to find full versions of things, they could easily do that.
Right. With that login, right?
With the login. Yeah.
That is the keys to the castle.
The keys
right?
to the castle. Okay.
And as you probably are well aware with a lot of these fraudsters, it's not just one thing, right? Like, so it's not just one task. It's it's kind of like since Robert Redford died, they're playing a lot of Robert Redford movies on um, on TV. And the other day, The Sting was on, right? It was, and The Sting was not the actual sting that they were doing on actor Robert Shaw wasn't just Robert Redford doing it. It was a whole gang, right, of of individuals,
Oh, that
that
sounds
had,
cool. I never saw that movie.
yeah, like they all had this nose thing where they, that was the signal, and all sorts of things. So when there are bad actors out there, it's not just one thing. Like in my
Right.
case, the way my the fraud happened to me was I got a flood of emails at while I was working, and I was like, why am I getting 2,000 emails right now? And it was all in service to somebody was going into had going into my bank and changing the email address. So
Oh.
so with all of the flood of emails, that was a distraction that took my attention. I'm like, why am I getting all these spam emails?
Oh.
Buried in that spam was an email from the bank saying we updated your email address, right? So
Oh.
I was not able to catch that. And by the
Yeah.
time I did catch it, oh, there's money missing out of my bank account.
Oh man.
And they were so smart because they moved $999. And I was like, why that weird amount? And the investigator, that I finally was able to get a hold of, was like, because $1,000 is a felony. So they knew that if they just, if they got caught, it'd just be a misdemeanor slap on the wrist or whatever, going in that regard, right?
Yeah.
So it's all very intricate, right? There's as this relates to, why do I even bring up this intricate story, right? Because this is part of the data mining that I think, back a few months ago, a lot of accountants were getting these spam requests from their ProAdvisor profile, right? There would
Yes.
be, hey, we need some training.
Oh, everybody was getting that, and I got a ton of
Right.
them. It
Right.
was so annoying.
So, you as a ProAdvisor trying to use, your ProAdvisor profile as a way to get legitimate business, right? What's the first thing you're going to do is, at least the first time that you see that, I'm going to reply to that.
Yeah,
Right?
and also My old mentor used to tell me that you had to reply to those because if you didn't, you were ranked lower in the ProAdvisor search. So she told
Yes.
me always reply to them because then the algorithm knows that you're replying. And so
Right. Here's the, and
I
then,
don't know.
but here's the thing, right? When you apply, the way that you reapply, no, sorry, not apply,
Reply.
reply. When you reply, it doesn't all go through just your QuickBooks ProAdvisor profile. You can still see it there, but when you reply to those responses, in whatever route, right? Um, they now can see your email, right? Because now they have an access point, and that is the first step of this whole process of compromising your account. Right?
I see. I see. So once they see your email, then they can start running those bots to try and log in, right?
No, nothing like that. This is actually, well, they could, right? I mean, they could start, if they've purchased a whole bunch of, compromised passwords and things like that on the dark web, perhaps. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a bad actor, so I don't know all the intricacies of what they could do. I'm sure, there are plenty of things that they could buy, to start just logging in. But the security measures that are already in place, if they log in out, if they log in outside of the normal workflow, MFA is going to kick in, right?
Yeah.
So in which case, if they guess your password, whatever it is, you're going to know about it because you're going to get a code,
Right.
So how would they get around that, right? So that's what we're going to talk about.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every once in a while I will get a code and I'm like, I didn't request that code.
Yeah. Well, that and that certainly could be something logging in on your behalf that you're not aware of, or it could be someone that you don't know logging in not on your behalf, right? So, whoops, I'm putting in the QR code and I didn't even see it up there. But here's the article that we're gonna run through here. But here's the dang it, I didn't want to. All right, when you go to sign in, all right, first thing, come on now. I didn't want to show that. I had it up just fine, and then okay. So, all right, I'm gonna sign in here.
Yeah.
This is what I want. So there's 3 ways that someone can sign in, right? So if they've got the password, they can sign in, right? Now there's this pass key, and we have an article on.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
That just avoids this whole MFA 2-factor authentication code thing, but still doesn't matter if you have a password, right?
Yeah.
Texting a code, calling with a code, and then this way, verify my account a different way takes longer, right? So let's take a peek here. All right, so let's get you back into your account, right? What do you want to update? Is the first question that it asks. Email, phone number, email, and phone number, right? So if I choose email, here's all I need in order to start this whole process. I just need the current user ID, which if you're using your email address as your user ID, that's all they need.
Right.
Which they've gotten by sending a phony, request, right?
Yeah.
And you've replied.
And you replied. Yeah.
Right. So current user ID, current email, which could be one and the same, and then new email address, and then
right
confirming that new email address. So this is current login and fraudster login. And then when they continue, the only thing that they're going to be asked for is to upload a valid ID, right?
Which they could pull anybody's picture off of the internet.
Yeah,
and put
ever since
together
Happy
a fake
Days,
ID.
ever since Happy Days, fake IDs have been a thing.
They
right?
could go down to Olvera Street in downtown LA and go get themselves a fake ID.
Yeah. So I mean, if they're willing to purchase your password, they probably know a way to forge a realistic looking ID.
Okay, this is very scary.
Yeah. And this is what I've been talking about for the last few months, and this
it's really helpful to see it visually like this.
Exactly.
But my question to you is, okay, so the key is that you don't want to be using your email address as your customer ID or current user ID.
That is one step. That is one step in the process, right?
Okay.
It's that's like locking your doors, locking your car doors, right? It will keep it'll keep people honest, right? If you try the door and the door is locked, okay, well, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go in there if
they could still bust through the window.
Exactly. If they still want to get into your car, there are ways that they can still do that, right? So that's one thing, but again, that's not all of it, right?
Okay.
And we'll talk through what another Rachel has socialized, and I documented in the article, right?
Okay.
So here is the vulnerability at Intuit, right? And until they put stronger restrictions on this, in order to recover your account, there is still a vulnerability, and that's.
Wait a minute. Should we put a disclaimer here that says, "Hey, thieves and fraudsters, don't watch this"?
Maybe, or they could, probably their algorithm is something that that they'll probably they probably either already know about it or they're watching anyway.
Yeah. Or they're probably not watching our workshop Wednesday, how to do things correct in QuickBooks Online. They're probably searching how to hack into things the illegal way.
Exactly. Oh, 2 people just dropped off. So maybe those were the maybe those were the fraudsters.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, all right. So here's part of the challenge, right? So we want to make it as difficult as possible for fraudsters to get through this vulnerability, right? Because again, all they need is a fake ID and your email address, and because what happens after that is when your identity is verified through that ID, then Intuit will send a password request to the new email.
Yeah.
So anything about passkeys, MFAs, and your password is really out the window, right? Like, it doesn't matter how strong your password is if you're able to reset your password with just updating your email address. Right. So that, yes, you'll get an email saying, to your old email that your email was updated, right? So that will be the indicator. But, if you're getting a flood of emails at the same time, you may miss that. Intuit is very email communication focused. So, a lot of people, have rules, about Intuit emails going into a certain area, and maybe they'll check them, on daily or something like that. So it certainly is not not something that someone will be able to be like, oh, okay, well, I see it happening. The latest thing that brought this up to the surface again, they were watching in real time someone adding users to their account, and they would go right in and delete them, right? So they were battling with the bad actor live on in their account, right?
But what if you did this? What if on your ProAdvisor profile you put, to prevent fraud, if you are interested in my services, please reach out to me at this email address. And it's not an
Right.
Intuit login email address at all.
Yeah, that is putting a buffer between your login and the communications is all part of the protection that we're talking about here. Again, it's not, I'm not going to make any claim that this is foolproof, because fools are so ingenious.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ledger Artist just said change your financial and email passwords when you change your clocks. Yeah, totally. And guess what? I change them more frequently than that, because I feel like I see any weird little thing and I immediately go in and I change my email password. I'm like, nope.
But I mean, the thing that I'm saying, and I appreciate, those anecdotes, is that your passwords are useless in this case because there is this vulnerability.
Right. It's because of they're dangling a carrot with the please respond in my Intuit profile, and that's how they're getting your Intuit related email.
Yeah. Regardless of how they're getting it, this screen that we're showing right here is the vulnerability, right? Because all they need is that one thing,
right?
And then they can change that thing, right? So,
but they might not know your current email. So if they don't know your current email, then no.
Right. So here in this blog article, is all about that. So Rachel Barnett at Gentle Frog. She socialized this, and I just leveraged that to make this article. But here's the implementation thing. First, you want to create a never used backup admin, right? So you would create an email address, which can be an alias, and I'll show you how to do that in Google Workspace here in a second. But you create a super secret at your domain login, right? Like a user ID, right? And then in QBOA, add that firm user as an admin, right? A company admin, but you never use that. Right. That is only for you to get in case of emergencies, right? Like that's the login when you have to break the glass.
Yeah.
Right. And in there, you can also create various other aliases so that email address is not visible and that sort of thing. Then your operational primary, right? Which is the user ID that you use to do your work, right? You set an email address that's different than your real email address, right? Like this example is I'm not telling at yourdomain.com, right? And you make this the QBOA owner and the daily admin, but you're also going to go in and modify your login and your contact information inside of QBOA to this new, email address that is an alias, right?
Right.
And then the third thing is to create a proposal only user or an invite only user that has minimal access, right? So they have minimal access to your firm or your other clients. So when you get an invitation from a client, it will be sent to this quotes at your domain, whatever that happens to be. And then as soon as you get that invitation, you remove that user from the client, and then that if that particular user gets compromised, they don't have access to any client, right? So now you're putting in this buffer of an invitation only user that has very limited access. Your email addresses and logins have various layers in between them so that what they see is not what they get. Right.
Okay. and then this is all just for solo practitioners.
Yeah. And then down below we have, the implementation for multi-staff, which is really just adding, a different sub or username, and then additional processes to kind of audit your stuff in here, right? So I've put in
Okay.
here how do you create an email address and an email alias?
Yeah, this is. I feel like I've done it, but I would like the correct step by step.
So, and of course, it's not showing. Okay. All right. So you log into your Google the thing at the top says log into your Google Workspace admin, and then you click the admin button. And then that gets you in to be able to, okay, let me just refresh this page. Let's just, there we go. Okay. So I tried to, blur out anything that was identifiable to myself. But you log into your admin workspace, and you can do this also in your Microsoft or Outlook account as well, but I don't use that. So I couldn't do, I couldn't walk through it. But then you go into your users, you manage the users, manage yourself, right? So you're the main admin. And then there's an option called add alternative emails, right?
Oh, okay. Yep, I know exactly where this is.
And then when you go into that, then you're going to be creating those multiple email addresses, right? So you've got your super secret, your not telling, and your quotes. All of those are going to be tied to your real email address, so that when emails come to those email addresses, they will come to your real email address, but at no point externally your real email address is exposed unless you reply to those emails, right?
Okay.
Right. So then sorry, the screenshot got messed up here, but then you're going to go into the your portal, your QBOA portal, and then add new users in the into your team. This is the quotes only user, right? The quotes at schoolofbookkeeping.com, standard, no access, right? So they don't have any access to your books or your firm. They only have access to clients, right? That's the standard only. And then you save it, and then that invite is going to come to your regular email address. You create a user ID associated with quotes at your domain, and that is the user that would be used to accept those invitations, right? And then you do the same thing for your backup admin, right? So now you've got 3 users. One that is your user that you would do your daily work. One is just the backup admin user, and then the other is the quotes. All right. Now you're going to receive you're going to receive 2 invitations to your main inbox. You accept each one and create a login under that email address of which each one was assigned to. Then you're going to go into your Intuit account, and if you see this new user ID might make it easier to sign in alert, you can review your user ID. Otherwise, you can go into the sign-in security and update your user ID. So at that point, you change your user ID from an email address to a user ID, right? And it has to be unique, right? So it just has to be different than anybody else's login. Incidentally, I picked one, and then I signed in and reversed it. And then it wanted to send an email to someone that wasn't me. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So I need to make sure I put in the right user ID when I'm signing in. Otherwise it's going to think something else, right? So you want to create a user ID that's not your email address. It can be an email address, but it's not your real email address, because that's just the way you sign in. And then you would go in and update the email address to the one that the alias that you just created that was super secret, right? So that way it's now going to have that email address for communications, right? Which is not your real email address, right? So that's the thing. Which means that anytime that any of these bad actors happens to get a hold of that and try to do these things, you're going to get notified, and you're going to get notified on your real email address,
right?
Not not
Yeah.
the one that might be compromised, right? Right. So you're going to get the 6-digit codes when that happens. That's going to go, anytime that you make a change to your account, you're going to get these two FMA, the 2FA codes. The 6-digit codes are going to come to that email address, and then you enter that in, and that's that. And you also get this email confirmation that your email was updated, right? So those are the ways that you can put a little friction in between you and the bad actors if they were happening to compromise your invite
and you're a solo practitioner.
Yeah.
It's just
and and then down here is when you have a team, just some suggestions.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, that's really cool. And I'm guessing, you can follow. She's got it step by step by step. Yeah.
And then, other checklists of things to do, right? Making sure your passwords are unique, 20 plus characters, stored in a password manager, prohibit reuse, right? Those are all best practices. But again, these passwords, the MFAs, the passkeys, the authenticator apps, they don't get around, this account recovery issue, right?
Yeah.
Because once those bad actors have access, or not necessarily have access, but just know, your email address, that is that nugget of information.
Yeah. So long story short, it's protect that correct, true email with aliases, and they can not use this particular thing.
Yes. Yeah, because this is the vulnerability, and this is the way that that bad actors are getting around all of these other security measures that are in place, right?
So would you say that anybody that's able to hack into any accountants or bookkeepers QuickBooks is this way?
I think this is the route that they're going.
This is what they're doing.
I mean, I am just speculating. I have no, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
Just knowing what I know about the process of what happens after this happens.
Yeah.
What I don't know is how scrupulous and stringent they are on confirming that the ID is valid.
Right.
And verifying identity based off of that.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you what I wanted to ask you about this other thing?
Sure.
So, okay, so this is what I'm considering. So, have you heard of, well, it used to be Practice Protect, but Practice Protect sold to Right Networks. Now, I actually
which is now RightWorks.
RightWorks, sorry. I think Right Networks became RightWorks.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I used to use Practice Protect, but years ago, and it was just me. And then I realized, well, I'm just a solopreneur, so it just was too much for just me. And so it's really meant for teams, multiple people logging into lots of different things all at once. Well, now that I have a bigger team, I'm seeing all these vulnerabilities. And so now it's RightWorks that now has the product, and it's basically a one login. You log in to this single force field that like sort of encompasses
a single sign-on.
Yeah, all of your apps that you get into, including QuickBooks. And so and the idea is nobody can get beyond that single sign-on. And when I did have it before, there's a couple features that I thought were really cool. You can basically see anybody that's trying to access your sign-on and where they are throughout the world. And I thought that was really cool. Now, I'm wondering, though, is there any vulnerability like what we just went through of getting into that single sign-on? Because, and if, is that true that once you get into your system with that single sign-on, then do you still have to do all these 2FAs? Do you still have to do all this? I have to look into it a little bit more, but I was just curious to know what
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know of that.
it's no different than a password manager, right? That you have, right, where you have a master password, and then
Uh-huh.
all of your passwords, your unique
Yeah.
passwords are after that, right? So again, just like what we were talking about with your accountant login, it's only as secure as that login, in that
Right.
process, right? So I would imagine, I would hope that services that are saying that they're protecting your practice, have a different aspect of being able to get through that that option, right? So
Yeah, because I guess my question is, okay, fine. You can't access all of these apps unless you go through this front door.
yeah,
But let's say I've got my LastPass within this force
right.
field. Couldn't somebody just hack in the LastPass and it has nothing to do with this external protection?
It's potentially, yeah.
So that's what and again, couldn't somebody still get a hold of your, if you are responding to your Intuit inquiries and they could still hack in that way? I don't think these practice barriers are disabling the ability to do any of that.
right. Well, they wouldn't necessarily be doing that, because this is the that's the challenge, right? Like, unless they put something that you can't log in except through here.
Right. That's what I was curious. Is that what they do? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know of other people who have legitimately been locked out of their account because they were outside of the country when they were logging in to QuickBooks, right? So
Yeah, but
they
I do know though that, like, when I did have Practice Protect before, and again now it's owned by this other company, and I don't know what the same protocols are, but you can be in contact with them and let them know, I'm physically going to be here, I'm physically going to be there, and that's part of the service. And then that way you don't run into that issue.
Yeah. So I don't know if that will stop anyone from trying to reset your password if
Yeah,
they go
I'm
through
curious
this
to know if it
process.
does have that ability to say you cannot log into anything unless you go through here. That is what I'm interested in, and if I do find out, I'll keep you posted, and then maybe we
I
can
mean, because
further, discuss that.
all other softwares that are services, could potentially be, vulnerable to that too. But
Yeah.
the thing is that, where the rubber hits the road here with regards to this, like, and originally I was like, well, if you're sending an ID, right? I mean, that is proving who you are, to Intuit, and I assume they're doing, their due diligence on that sort of thing. But I started to look at, well, what does it take for you to change or update your contact information or your email address or phone number at your bank, right? And when you do that at the bank, they ask you something completely different, right? Like, they ask you, what's your debit card number or your account
Right.
number,
Yeah.
or they ask for other information that presumably you would be the one to know, or at least
Yeah. So
have
Intuit, get
access
on
to.
it. Like, why are they doing this? This is
Yeah.
absurd. It should
The
be
only
more
thing they're
difficult.
asking for here is what's the old email address, which is
Yeah.
pretty readily available, right?
And
So
I'm wondering, I have Clear. It's like I go to the airport and it like scans my eyes
yeah,
and then it knows. I mean, can't we do something like that where I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe it's
That's
like, they won't take a physical, potential fake ID. It's got to be you,
yeah.
just, live with them where they can scan your eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, some kind of biometric eye retinal scan. I don't
Yeah.
know what it's ultimately going to boil down to, but just like, you know, having to take your shoes off, right? These things are reactionary to somebody already doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, there's going to be another thing that, iteration, and this is the reaction is hiding and obscuring your email address from your
Yeah.
login, from your Intuit
Yeah.
login. This
Yeah.
is the taking of your shoes off,
Yeah.
as it's a pain in the behind to be able to do that, to have to do this. But this is, protecting all of the other passengers on the
Yeah.
flight here by doing that, because as if your login does get compromised, it is a headache. I mean, it's a bigger issue because Intuit and QuickBooks is providing simpler access to real money movement, right?
Yeah, and it's not, and there's nothing more horrifying than having to go to a
Yeah.
client and say, "Oh, guess
Yeah.
what happened?" I mean, luckily nothing like that has ever happened to me. I have had 2 clients that they've been hacked.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of them, they got a hold of my email address.
Right.
So yeah, it's awful. So anyway, I'm gonna follow those steps that she put, because until I make a decision about this other thing, I'm gonna follow the one for Teams, and I'm gonna put all those things in place, because I mean, I still have like 45,000 two-factor authentications, and all I do all day is send codes.
Yeah.
All I do. But I still feel like that's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that as far as that is concerned. Now, you and I actually did a different way to invite an accountant that avoids the whole email, right? Because that's another challenge. Getting, if you don't get the email, it's spam filtered out or something like that.
Yeah.
Especially now that you're
that's
adding
what was happening, is I wasn't getting the email, so we set an additional user, like with that email address.
Right. But now,
but that doesn't fix the replying to the inquiries.
No, it doesn't fix that part. However, if you're having a challenge getting the invitation, right, getting the invitation into your inbox, because you now have higher security on your emails getting to you, there is now an option to be able to invite through the firm ID, right?
Yes, and I just did that to you yesterday.
Yeah.
That's actually great.
It's actually really cool. So the way that it works is when you go into the account that you want to invite people to. Now, we're not talking about inviting team members into QBOA. That we're talking about being invited as an accountant.
Yeah.
Inside of a QuickBooks Online general subscription. Simple Start through Advance. When you go into the managed users and the accounting firms, there's now a new option to invite by firm, right? So all you have to do, and all I had to do, was provide to Rachel my firm ID for QBOA, and that's all she had to put in was the firm ID.
Yeah,
and
no name, no email address, nothing.
And then all I had to do was log into my QBOA, and then there's a section for a client invitations, and all I had to do was accept it.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't have to click on a link that was in an email and then log in. It was already there because I was able to provide my firm ID to Rachel. Right. So that can be, a practice.
Well, and actually, you know what I'm going to do now is I have a scribe, like a step-by-step for this is how you invite me into your QBOA. Yeah. I'm actually going to update that, and I'm going to have, because now I actually, right now, I have somebody, that I've had to say, please use this email address when inviting me in. And they think it's just the email address that they email me. And it's not, it's a different email address. So that is a potential mistake. And then now I have somebody who is, you know, I have to remind, like, please invite me. And so I want to have just this one way. This is how you invite me in.
Right.
Like, here's the instructions. There you go. Here's my company ID. But now I'm a little worried, though, is there a way for them to get into, for hackers to get into my QBOA if just through a company ID?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because you would still, you still need to sign in first.
Right.
And then it's going to present to you all of the firms and company IDs or companies that you would have access to at that point. So you got to get the login first, and that's why you know we're stating, you know, QuickBooks is as secure as your login. Right.
So as long as nobody is able to monkey with your login, there's no other way they can get into your QBOA.
Yeah, I don't want to say no. I mean, I have a difficult time agreeing to absolutes.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are ways, you know, to do that. It's just a challenge to be able to, you know, to be that. Okay, all right. Now we have to take our shoes off. Now we have to, you know, put all liquids in a quart-sized bag, and you know, who would have thought of that? You know, when that occurred, right? Like,
I mean,
thank goodness we didn't have to take our underwear off when the underwear bomber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no IT person, but I mean, I have learned, like, as a firm owner that has to deal with very careful security now for several years, that I've learned that it's through the login usually is how 99% probably of all of these things happen.
So if Intuit is listening, and I hope they are, do something about that process.
Yes.
Right? Put some more friction in the way.
Don't have it be just they have to upload an ID. Have it be where they have to have a physical meeting with you, even if it's a 5-minute thing.
Or tell us what is the process, like what are the scrupule, you know, what is the procedure to confirm that what is being provided is accurate. And I know from you know, when we required ProAdvisors to upload IDs, there were all sorts of bad pictures.
How about ID and great grandmother's maiden name and blood type and you know, first street you lived on and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and it's getting that way that it's harder to prove who you really are when you need to. You know, these bad actors have a great way, you know, have an easier road than the real people who are trying to you know, prove who they are. Right. I had this with an old Stripe account today. Right. The original owner passed away, so we were trying to change it over, and you know, I had this interview from Stripe to be like, all right, give me this information, give me this information, give me this information.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can't see that. I mean, he's passed away. I don't know what his birthday was, you know. So it's getting harder to prove who you are than it is to actually, you know, safeguard your own account. So next week we will talk about the Square integrations and updates on those applications, and hopefully you all have a great week ahead, and we appreciate you joining us on the Workshop Wednesday, and we will see you next time.